We're going to be flying the Localizer 17 in Aurora, Oregon. We're going to be flying the Newberg initial approach fix. Remember, the only time you're really going to be flying this whole procedure turns is when you request it or non-radar environment. Otherwise, they're going to give you vectors. For purpose of this video, we're going to go to the initial approach fix, do the procedure turn, and come back around. Like in all of our videos, these videos are only intended for entertainment and educational purposes. For flight instruction, you actually got to work with a certified flight instructor one-on-one. All right, so at the current moment, we are southwest of Newberg. So let's start loading the approach. I'm going to press flight plan, push the FMS. Actually, we don't need to push that. Program, procedure, select approach. We already have Aurora State, Localizer 17. Let's see what other approaches they have. They have an RNAV and a GPS. We want the Localizer, and we want UBG. Sounds silly, but I've seen people confuse BTG with UBG and they load it as the initial approach fix. Notice that UBG is not an initial approach fix, it's a transition fix, right? That's gonna take us to LUTS, which is the initial approach fix, and that's what we want. Minimums, because we're loading this approach, we can identify FITBO, so we can do minimums of 580. In order to identify FITBO, you need to have DME. Activate. Now, let's check the information on this approach. We're going to cross Newberg at or above 4,000. And notice that it's white, meaning that it's advisory only. LUTS, which is the initial approach fix. It's also going to be 4,000. Procedure turn, we can descend down to 3,100. And that's when it's going to get interesting because we're going to see what happens when on that procedure turn it switches to Localizer and it still keeps us at 4,000. LUTS 2,600. So when they clear us for the approach and we're planning to use VNAV, we are going to set 2,600. FITBO is 1,000 and we have it in the database. Missed approach then is missed approach is climber 900. Reason it's showing us 900 is because it's going to be 400 feet is the earliest we can turn, right? But in this case, let's take a look. It's 900 is because that's what the procedure calls for. We got to climb 900 before we turn on course. We're going to be intercepting the heading 050 and go to GLARA and hold on the 340 course, which is here. The 340 course is the inbound of this approach. With that being said, remember these videos are being recorded in 4K. Make sure the player is duplicating, is displaying it in 4K because there's a lot of information between the MFD and on the bottom right with the iPad. I encourage you to have your own iPad as you're checking all of this. You're more than welcome to pause it. Take a look at what's going on. Do it your own. Make sure you can go at your own pace, especially because this information, this G1000 simulator does have the actual database of the airplane, meaning your home simulator does not have it, right? Most simulators don't have the real G1000 unless you're using like the Garmin PC Trainer, but you can pause it, check the information, practice it on your own, and keep on watching this video. So now that the information is correct, what I'm going to do, I'm going to nav because we're going to assume that ATC gives us the instruction, direct Newberg, because Newberg got of what, 4,500, clear for the approach. I'm going to unpause the sim, get us going in that direction. GPS autopilot altitude 4,000. Let me set my power settings here, close the cowl flaps. 23, 22 is about what I want. And like I said, because we're clear for the approach, we can set 2,600. And in 4 minutes and 18 seconds, we are going to arm the VNAV. Now, because we still got a few miles, let's brief it. One important thing you should do is always check the NOTAMs. In this case, they're asking us to increase the visibility 7/8. We're going to call it 1 mile. Let me get rid of those nodes. So it goes from 3/4 to 1 mile. Synchronize the heading bug. All right, we're doing the Localizer 17 in Aurora. The chart was 30 November 2018, 11-1. Approach course is 111.15. Notice that it's not identified. We'll keep an eye on it and make sure that the simulator does populate the India Uniform Alpha Oscar. Inbound course is 172, and that's what we're showing here in the MFD. I'll show you with the pointers. Here we go, 172. If we want to check it on the CDI, synchronize the heading bar, press heading, change CDI, and there it is, 172. Now we change the CDI back to GPS, then back to nav. And it does set the frequencies and the courses because we loaded the procedure. We're flying down to 580, which is already set on the MFD. I press the time ref key, and then we see the 580 here. Flight plan. Touchdown elevation is 200 feet. We have the approach lighting system, so we can go down to 300. MSA from the quadrant we're coming is 4,800. There's the hill, which is the biggest threat that I see. There's a tower inside Fitvo at 311 feet. And there's one tower, 962 feet, as we do a procedure turn inbound, which I don't think is going to be a factor. We still have 2 minutes and 29 seconds. Put up minimums, 580, when we're going to call it 1 mile. In case we have to go mixture forward, press forward, throttles forward, press toga, pitch disengage the autopilot, press toga, flap, nose attitude to 10 degrees, open the cowl flaps, clean the flaps, press nav. Very high workload phase, and if you've seen some of the prior videos, you might have seen that I've been forgetting to open the cowl flaps because I'm really focused on just showing you what the features of the G1000 are. Cool, 1 minute and 55 seconds. We are planning to be configured 2 miles prior to the final approach fix. I'm just seeing what other charts I have available here, how organized this is. Because for the purpose of this video, that's what we had. Let me go to maps. And this is UAO. I want to see the runway length. So it's a 5,000 foot runway. And we can actually also go, yep. It's 5,000 foot runway. Another way to do it is if we go here to waypoint using the big FMS knobs. I'll use the pointer for this. 5,000 foot runway. It will show us to us. It will show it to us there. One cool thing I'm going to do here. How about this? I'm going to set up the frequencies. Now I'm going to say departure, and then I want the tower frequency. One thing I don't do, but because the way this videos get sequenced is, I end up loading the frequencies whilst we brief the approach. Those frequencies are only for reference only. You're doing this briefing of loading, checking, briefing it. You're doing it about 15 minutes prior to your descent, 30 minutes prior to your descent, about 45 minutes prior to you arriving at the airport. You're doing it quite a bit ways out. You're not doing it as we're doing it in this video, right at the initial approach fix, and off we go. The only time you're going to be doing this type of briefing is when you're doing multiple approaches back to back. All right, there it is. 1 minute and 30 seconds is going to start the descent. There's LUTs. 1 minute and 5 seconds. And there's the vertical track, VNAV path. Now for this procedure turn, we got to remain within 10 miles from LUTs. And we can check that distance with the bearing pointer, which is down here. That distance, the 1.9, is GPS driven. 037. I'll back it up with the timer here, time ref. I'll start. And this is what I was talking about. Let's see how this VNAV is going to do with this descent. The next altitude is 3,100. VNAV path, I reduce the power. .172 will be the next heading. I have it, I don't go past the 6 o'clock on the HSI, meaning this is your 6 o'clock, the tail of the airplane. I'm gonna wait there because some autopilots may not honor that 360. Some other ones do. So notice I don't pass the 6 o'clock until, I just keep it about 7 o'clock. I'm gonna go back to my flight plan. 3,100. So we have 200 feet to go. Now, once we intercept the course inbound, we can continue the descent to 2,600. I said that correctly. We'll continue the descent 2,600. Altitude 3,100. There it is. So here, VNAV is not going to continue that descent. Localizers capture, we are within 5 degrees. Vertical speed, I'm going to do 700 feet a minute. 134, I'll point the pointer there. 134, 135 divided by 2. So let's make it 140, right, just for easy math. That's 700. Well, 70 times 10, or add a 0 at the end of 700. There's the localizer. We probably started that descent slightly early, but it will work. We're plus or minus within 10 degrees. Within 5 degrees, I'll gotta check the video, but we're probably a little bit early. Like I said, 2 miles prior to the final approach fix is when we're gonna start configuring. My speed that I'm aiming for now is 140 because that's flaps 10 speed. I'm 130, so it's looking good. That will tell us to switch over to tower. Aurora Tower, Cessna 1060 Tango, localizer 17. That will give us a landing clearance. And now I'm going to set ground frequency 2.4. This approach is 3 degree angle of descent. 3.13. So the 3 degrees is going to be close enough, especially once we cross that Fitbo intersection. We'll just add another 100, 200 feet for us to meet the be on profile to have a stabilized approach. 1 mile, 10 degrees of flaps. Landing checklist, gas undercarriage. It's fixed. Gas is on the fullest tank. Mixture forward. Props forward. I'm going to set 580. Vertical speed 120. We're going to wing to press 600 feet a minute. Pull the power back. Now we have to monitor this Fitbo at or above 1,000. And my target speed is about 95 to 100 knots. Hovering my left thumb over the autopilot, disengage. We're in 2 miles from Fitbo. We got to cross it at 1,000 feet. We have 600 feet to go. And I'm going to reduce the vertical speed to 500 feet a minute. 1,000 minimums. One mile, 400 feet to go for Fitbo. On this missed approach, I'm not going to use toga. I'm just going to disengage the autopilot, bring the nose up, press the suspend, and go to CDI. Because a lot of pilots who don't have a GFC 700 will use the CAP 140. So more or less, that's what we're going to fly on this mist. 0.3 miles, we're 100 feet, 200 feet high. Well, we can go back to 100 feet, 600 feet a minute, descend. And I'm going to add another 100 feet since we're slightly high. Descending down to 580, we're at 500 to go. And notice that the flight path angle there is aiming before the runway, so we're going to be in good shape. Get the pointer out of the way. 90 knots, 300, 200. 500. Altitude's like 100. As we do this level off, I am going to add power to maintain those 100 knots. Altitude is not flashing. I'll add a little bit more power, and I'm going to set 4,000. Like I said, I'm not going to press toga. Mixture forward, props forward. How about I'll open the cowl flaps for the mist. A lot more power, because we know we're not going to go, but I still want to stay in that range of 100 knots. .4 miles. We're definitely going to have to go mist. There's missed approach point. Autopilot off, mixture forward, props forward, throttles forward. I'm going to kill the flight director. I'm going to press the suspend key. CDI, CDI. 10 degrees. Clear of all obstacles. Flaps up. Coming to 4,000. Passing 900. We can make that left turn. 050. Aurora Tower. Cessna 1060 Tango missed approach. Runway 17. Above 800 feet, autopilot can be engaged. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select heading, autopilot, nav. GPS is on standby because we're going to be flying that 050 to intercept the course. Cowl flaps are open, flaps are up, and we'll accomplish the climb checklist. If you were flying this approach with the toga and nav, there's a chance that on the mist is not going to capture that 050 heading. Therefore, you manually have to remember to push heading, turn the heading back to 050, and manually flying heading mode, get to the mist approach course, because headings and tracks is something that the flight management system, sometimes if you don't do it at the right time, it does fall behind, and then it requires the pilot to manually sequence and fly the airplane to get the flight management system in a position where it can navigate on its own. Remember, when you're in the pilot seat, it's not a first class seat. Doesn't matter if you're a Cirrus or whatever, in a Cirrus jet, 172, all spectrums. If you're in the pilot seat, regardless if it may look easy flying the autopilot, but you're constantly have to be 3 steps ahead of the airplane. And that's the key there is training. The more you do it, the better you are for detecting this light malfunctions. Or, I wouldn't say malfunctions, but this little, I don't know how to call it, the nuances. So it's up to you, the pilot, to catch them. We do offer remote instruction at readyroger.com. Make sure you take a look at the video description for the link.